Shabbat Shalom. One of the great joys in my professional life is shepherding people through the conversion process. Those who are making the choice to join the Jewish people. It's always affirming, often emotional, to watch them grow in wisdom and to forge a Jewish identity, an attachment to our people and traditions. In the past couple years, I've worked with some individuals who have a significant Instagram following, influencers, if you will, media personalities. And what I love about their public personas is just how out there they are about their Jewish identity, posting pictures, stories about their journeys, baking challah, Shabbat dinners, wearing necklaces with their Hebrew names on them. They are proudly, publicly professing their love for all things Jewish. And while I'm obviously proud of their pride, I also wonder if they missed the class about how Jews tend to downplay their Jewish identities in public, shy away from external expressions of religiosity to change who we are so we can better blend in and not stand out so much. I'm kidding, by the way. There is no class in the conversion process where we teach that. Because how do you teach that kind of neurosis? All right? And that's just it. They don't carry the baggage of history, the impulse that we have cultivated over thousands of years to blend in, to walk cautiously through the world as a Jew. It hasn't been planted in them as a result of some of the traumas of Jewish history. They just love being Jewish. And despite a world that might want them to feel otherwise, they want everyone to know, at least the 500,000 plus people that collectively follow them on Instagram. Friends, we find ourselves together this morning. It's a beautiful Shabbat, celebrating two fantastic young adults as they take hold of Torah, asserting, actually quite publicly, their Jewish identities. You two are amazing. You give us hope in the Jewish future. And yet we are living in a time of heightened hatred. In the past week, we have seen attacks against Jewish people in the streets of LA, anti-Semitic demonstrations in front of a Chabad house in Orlando, increases in the distribution of propaganda, anti-Semitic propaganda in cities across the nation. On Tuesday night, neo-Nazi protesters in New York City spread vile anti-Semitic conspiracy theories outside the Broadway revival of Parade, the play that tells the story of the falsely convicted Leo Frank, who was lynched. And of course, as you know, white supremacist groups have declared today a national day of hate towards Jews. And while the ADL reported that they're not aware of any sort of specific threats, we know that these groups are hoping for an increase in anti-Semitic flyer distributions, protests, graffiti. And I know that this news can be frightening. It is completely unacceptable that the Jewish community, or any community, should be targeted by extremists spreading hate and alarm. For rabbis, it's a subject that we are tired of speaking about, feeling that we have to speak about. So, security precautions, working with organizations who have expertise in combating the physical threats of anti-Semitism and violence against the Jews, that is critical, that we will continue to support, that we will continue to do. But what about us as a people? How do we fight this spiritual condition of anti-Semitism? How do we respond as Jews to the knowledge that there are many people who continue to look at us as the other, who traffic in some of the ugliest forms of prejudice and stereotyping, who want to deny us the right of self-determination in the land of Israel, who exclude us from public discourse because of our beliefs, because of who we are. How do we respond to that? Today's Torah portion, Trumah, teaches us a powerful lesson that I think we can connect to in our times. As the Israelites are wandering through the wilderness of Sinai, God instructs them, as we've heard, to gather materials to create this Mishkan, this tabernacle, this portable sanctuary. And among the ingredients are to be found gold and silver and brass and blue and purple and scarlet yarn and fine linen and goat's hair and skins of rams dyed red and skins of seals and acacia wood. Each of these objects gets broken down by the rabbis, the meaning of it, how they had it, what were they doing with these things. But the one that gets the most commentary is this acacia wood, what they call atzei shittim. And in his commentary, the medieval commentator Rashi says, where did they get this wood in the middle of the wilderness? After all, Rashi didn't know of any acacia trees in the wilderness. How would God expect the Israelites to have access to the amount of lumber that they actually needed and took with them or made or found or whatever? How did they have access to it? Rashi then quotes an answer from the Midrash. Rabbi Tanchuma explained, our father Jacob foresaw by means of the Holy Spirit that Israel was destined to build a tabernacle in the wilderness. So he brought cedars to Egypt and he planted them. And he commanded his children to take them with them when they would leave Egypt. Now think about the wisdom of Jacob. He anticipated the needs of his descendants and went above and beyond to provide for those needs. He didn't need acacia wood. There's no reason to think he would have a use for it. But he understood the importance of planting for the future, the necessity to plan for the next generation. Friends, there has not been one moment in Jewish history when anti-Semites didn't want to harm the Jewish people. And in a moment where it feels like this virus is rearing its ugly head, it's actually been rearing its ugly head for a while. It's time to remember that all of us are descendants from parents who did their best to plant in us a love of Judaism and the Jewish people. And now we are the ancestors who are responsible for planting in our children, in our grandchildren, in our community members, a reverence and a love for this tradition. Can we learn from our ancestor Jacob that our actions today will have a direct impact on the future of our children? And if we do recognize that, then what will we plant? What will we teach them? What will we model for them in this challenging moment? And I think that there are two options here. There are more, but I'm going to talk about two. One is to do what Jews have done for generation after generation after generation, and I referred to it earlier. When faced with the reality and sometimes danger of anti-Semitism, we can choose to retreat. We can pull back from Jewish practice. We can scale down our public identity. We can try to fundamentally change who we are because we believe that this change will help us achieve the acceptance that we so desperately want. And then people will cease to see us as Jews, as the other. And I've got news for you. This approach has never worked. Instead, I want to offer you three suggestions. Three things I encourage you to plant and nurture in the people in your life. If you read Barry Weiss's book on fighting anti-Semitism, she's got a whole list in the back of things. I'm paraphrasing some of her titles and putting a different spin on 3 of them. I encourage you to plant these 3 things into the people in your life. And here I'm not speaking as a security expert. I'm not speaking as a Jewish professional employed by the ADL. I'm not speaking as a scholar of anti-Semitism. I'm speaking as a rabbi who is concerned with people's souls, how they spiritually respond to the sickness of hate, how parents can speak to their children about it and articulate a reason for Jewish life beyond "don't give Hitler a posthumous victory." I'm concerned about kids feeling comfortable with outward expressions of their Jewish identity and supporting Israel at school, on campus, on the street, let alone feeling safe when they walk into the synagogue they love. So here are my 3. First, an appreciation for what our tradition says about the meaning of life at a time when we read so much about mental health challenges. As human beings, we are hardwired to seek meaning. We are the one animal who is capable of asking the question, why? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? And Judaism has answers for that existential question. It teaches us that life is more than about the money we earn, the clothes we wear, the cars we drive, the things that we collect, the possessions that we have. Following in the footsteps of our patriarch Abraham, we are, Rabbi Sachs says, iconoclasts, the people with the courage to challenge the idols of the age, whatever the idols, whatever the age. And while the idols change, the Jewish duty to show that there is another way has never changed. Second, cultivate your Jewish identity and the identity of those around you by doing Jewish. Embrace Jewish rituals, light Shabbat candles, invest time in Jewish literacy, read books of Jewish interest, travel to Israel with Park Avenue Synagogue, make Jewish decisions in your life, how you eat, how you spend your time, how you make charitable decisions. Judaism is a religion of very high ideals that breaks it down into sound bites, simple daily deeds. Elevate Jewish practice. Incorporate some of those deeds into your life and the life of your family. And third, remember that we are not passive individuals to be acted upon. We have agency. That's what Zionism and Israel have given us. And your actions might just be what transforms our reality. In a little over a week, we'll read the book of Esther on Purim, and while we will dress up and we will make fun of Haman and we'll mock everybody, it's actually a book about the dangers of powerlessness and the lack of agency, that we can be destroyed on a whim. We didn't bow down to somebody, we're done. And yet it contains one of the most important lines of our tradition when Esther is explaining and making excuses for why she cannot intervene on behalf of the Jews and go see the king. Mordechai says to her the famous words, Im chacharesh tachrishi ba'ed hazot, if you are silent and do nothing at this time. Revach v'hatzala ya'amod la'yudim mimakom acher. Somebody else will save the Jewish people. Umi yodea, but who knows? Im la'et kazot higia ama l'malchut. What if it was not just for this moment that you attained royalty and became the queen? I look around the room. I know that there are many people here who are 1 or 2 degrees away from people who can make important decisions about things like corporate sponsorship or online behavior. We have connections. We have power. We never know the possible outcomes of our actions. Did Esther, growing up with Mordechai, know that one day she would be in the position to actually save the Jewish people? You never know the meaning of one friendship, one moment, and what it might have for you, for someone else, for the Jewish people, that might just change the world. B'chol dor vador, in every generation, we will say in several weeks on Passover, a new enemy arises who wants to harm us. We live with that reality. And I don't believe that it's only our job to cure the world of this disease. I'm not sure it's our job at all to cure a disease that we are affected by, but we are not infected by. Our job, I believe, is to definitively affirm who we are, what we value, and what we believe. And we need to do it passionately, we need to do it publicly, and we need to do it proudly, and ensure that it is planted in our children and the generations to come. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar ma'od v'ha'ikar lo lifached klal. The whole world is a very narrow bridge that we walk on. And the main thing is that we have no fear at all. May we be blessed with strength and courage to have that kind of faith in tomorrow. A tomorrow when a great peace will embrace the world. That's our dream. It's been our dream for thousands of years. It's a dream that makes me proud to be part of this tradition and to have the opportunity each and every morning to say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Thank you, God. I praise you, God. I am grateful to you, God, for creating me as a Jew. Shabbat Shalom.